For the past 4 weeks, I have been living in Xizhou, which is a small town in southwestern China. Before I came here, I had to pick a topic of high interest. I decided to learn about water quality and pollution, but eventually turned into Lake ErHai. I want to learn about water quality because I like the environment and I think it's interesting. When I was interviewing people, the first question I asked was, how has the lake changed over time? And every single time, with the dozen or so people I interviewed, they all said it has changed so much. And then they began to list reasons of why it was changed. Sometimes we'd have to almost slow them down to get everything. This brings me to my thesis. In order to understand the lake and its surroundings, one must understand the past, present, and future. In the past, the lake was much cleaner. Mr. Lee told me that there used to be sandy beaches that stretched for about 10 meters inland. He also told me that when he was a kid, he used to be able to drink and swim in the water. Back then, there was an abundance of fish, and people could take as much as they want, and they didn't think that there'd be any consequences. After doing more research, I wanted to learn more about the past. I talked to Mr. T, and he told me about his friend, Mr. Duan, who's a former government official and walks 10 kilometers along the lake each day. Mr. Duan told me about how the lake used to have a lot of fishing boats on it, and the fishing boats leaked oil. He said that when you went up to the lake, you could smell it, and if you looked at the water was black. Mr. Duan told me about how the government has imposed strict laws about pollution, dumping of trash, and fishing. Fishing is only allowed for 2 months every year. Because of this, former fishermen have had to turn to farming because they cannot make a living only fishing 2 months of the year. Fishermen also have to take seasonal jobs like garlic picking and harvesting. Even though the government has imposed laws and policies, there is a lack of enforcement. To help with the pollution, the government has installed water treatment tanks next to the lake for the residents who live there. Outside of the London Center, there is a water treatment plant. There I talked to Mr. Yang. He showed us around and told us about MBR, which is a pretty high-tech way of cleaning water that most American plants use. This is one of the steps that the government is taking to help prevent for the future now, but there will need to be many more to make it a successful future. It's hard to tell what the future of the lake looks like. I heard from a couple of different sources that the east side of the lake is going to be developed and turned into a tourist zone, while the west side of the lake is going to be kept farming. There's a lot of uncertainty with people about what the lake will look like in the future. Most people agree that the government should be responsible for it because they don't feel like they can change anything. ErHai Lake is the mother lake, and there would be no reason for people to live here if it wasn't for it. In the future and now, people need to take responsibility for it because it is the only reason they're here.